So, we are gonna do introductions again, Dr. Hart, just so that he's not gonna remember anybody's name. I mean, Tyler's not here, so we're at a loss, but.
I think it's Jay, isn't
Yeah.
Look at him.
So,
it? I do remember. I just messed it up.
I know. Jamie, you wanna go ahead? You wanna go ahead, introduction?
Oh, Jamie Johnson, board member.
And then we'll just jump across.
Oh, Kelly Gentry, curriculum.
Tasha Green, instructional coach. Heather Jonas, principal.
Marie Blythe, board member.
Kelsey Bremer, assistant principal.
Kelsey Hartman, board member.
Kelsey. That one's gonna be, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Sorry about over.
Mary Myers, board member.
You know, Scott.
And I did remember Mary.
That's right.
And then Bryce, right? Right. Well, good to see you. I'm Britton. So tonight, really, and we've had an opportunity to meet with the admin and our two board leaders. And so part of the reason we do that, not to like tell the board that they don't have a role in that, but to try to wordsmith that down a little bit. So tonight you have more of a manageable bite. Because what we don't want to do is come here and spend your whole time wordsmithing. So we have something that's kind of refined. This is kind of the byproduct, if you will, of your work as a board from the community groups. And so what the admin team, which I think is an important connection here, the admin team from this point forward has to figure out how to make this stuff happen. The board is finalizing the what. So this is what we want to see. And so that connection, I think, is really healthy and really good to kind of to mesh. You're gonna see, and I'll kind of go through each one of these, and you're gonna have an opportunity to give us your feedback as a board. The admin's role tonight is really to be that resource person and kind of fill in the blanks with the conversations from the buildings, from the community groups, and the conversation they had with the two board leaders as we refine that. But ultimately, the board needs to decide tonight, kind of, if you will, what is gonna be our priority the first year to 2 years. We will always go back to this information. We'll always utilize the community group and validate their work, but we have to have a starting place. We can't be great at everything, but we can be good at a few things. Is that fair? Okay. So you're gonna see a couple things. First thing you're gonna see is the goal area. So like for the first one, student success, right below there, you're gonna see really, I would say a strongly suggested goal. So I'll just read this first one so we can model this. We will prepare students academically, socially, and emotionally for life beyond school. Those are the two pieces that are kind of pretty static, if you will. The pieces down below is what we're going to spend a lot of our time on, which I call outcomes. These are the outcomes or the strategies of what the board would like to see the next several years moving forward. And so then on the right side, which we'll spend a little time on, mission statement that we refined with the community and board's feedback, and then also a vision statement as well. And we really want to refine that so it's crystal clear to you as a board, so that the community and the district has a clear direction of where we're headed. Okay, so that's one thing you have at your place. The next thing you'll have, this is just your resource guide. This is everything that we did on the community groups. Yeah, I'm gonna have you kind of go into there tonight with your admin partner and kind of talk about that. And then each board member is going to report out what they feel as a priority as we start to build this list moving forward. Kind of have a starting place, okay? And so that's kind of our goal, if you will, tonight. So first thing I want you to have some conversation around. Yes, ma'am. You have a question? Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a couple others. Does somebody else need one?
No, it's okay, we can share.
I gave one away that was here and so Billy didn't have to.
Yeah. That is very nice of you. Are you giving anything else away?
Not right at the moment.
Okay. Hey, first thing I want you to talk about, and you can do this with your admin partner, your shoulder partner, anybody in the room here, but really want you to kind of think about the work we've done. What is this relationship between the board and what we call student success? And so if you recall, we talked about that student success through the lens of what a successful graduate is. There's a lot more to that, as we know, than just some attributes and skills, but how do you as board members and admin feel about what is this relationship and what really does that mean to you when you think about the board and student success? What does that mean? How would you articulate that? So take a moment with your shoulder partner or person across from you. We'll have a couple of you report out.
I draw this one.
So I understand.
I guess I see that as our.
I feel like. Yeah. Between, you know, all the policies and procedures. The fun, all the things that fall into the. Yeah.
I love it. I think that what we do to do, sometimes the first reaction that we get, we want to have more flags.
Let's bring you back, folks. Wrap up your conversation. So I'm just gonna start on my left, kind of work to your right. So if you hear something you want to steal, you can, all right? So what does this relationship look like in your mind as board members?
Well, I use a couple of key terms, I think. I use the term guardrails as policies and procedures, and then also the conduit of how the money is allocated to ensure that success by using those policies and procedures.
You feel like something like this helps you kind of now we have some guardrails. We all, if you will, not a play on the visual, but kind of have a funnel of where we should be directing some of our resources. Good, good. Kind of right in here. Kelsey's or gal that's giving away stuff. Marie, I can't remember everybody's name.
We talked about the partnership between the board and the boots on the ground, if you will, the things that are needed or updated or improved to contribute to student success. And I feel like the board does put trust in the people on the ground that are doing the work that leads to student success.
That's such a delicate relationship from the custodian all the way to the board president, right? That communication and trust is so delicate and we have to work on it every single time that we're together. So I appreciate you adding that to the beginning of the. Anybody else want to round us out over here? Anything else that maybe you talked about that was different?
Well, just in general, the board, I think we're working on becoming an ear for community and staff, someone they can go to. I think it's important for success of the students. We're all on one page.
Now you bring up an interesting concept. You are an ear or the board is the ear?
Both.
Both? Okay. Okay.
As I get to know more of the community and then the board, people feel more comfortable coming to the board.
Yeah, and that's interesting sometimes when they come to you individually. How do you handle that versus when they come to you as a board? And what's important for the whole board to know and what's important for you just to listen? And that's tough when you think about, we only have so many resources and so much time. And whew, that's a tall task, right? You have a big responsibility. 800 kids? Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility when you sit at this table and you understand that. And so I think this helps, if you will, kind of refine it. So thank you. This kind of sets the stage and I want to kind of paint this picture, kind of alludes to many things you've talked about. So we have spent a valuable amount of time talking about what you value and believe, if you will. Mesh that with our mission and vision. I love what the board leaders and admin decided with we will. If you've kind of seen the play on the phrase under each goal, we will. It marries nicely if to the mission. If you think of the school community is committed. I mean, we're in this together. If one of you fail, we all fail. And so I love that kind of play. And so I think if you think about that Nike vision and everybody says, just do it. I think this kind of resonates with me that we're going to come together as a team, you know, whether it's board's role, building role, teacher role. I really like how that's played out. And then it aligns and it should align with how we do policy and how we develop our budget. That's the board's job. The district's job then is now to be honest, the board's done a heavy lift, but they're kind of they're kind of, if they will, they kind of get a little bit of a time to reflect. And now it's the people in the room here to figure out how we're gonna get this done. Kelly's got a heavy lift, to be honest. She's got to put stakeholder teams together with Dr. Doty, figure out how we're gonna tackle each one of these goals. That's where the tactics and the strategies come together. So the board is kind of deciding about what are some of those indicators that, what does success look like? If we're having success in the lens of students, what do we want to see? Not how we want to see it, but what we want to see. And so that's something we need to do together. And so the board decides what, you've heard me say this a lot of times, the admin, teachers, our support staff, they decide how to do it. I mean, if I'm superintendent of school and I'm going down to our custodian and telling them how to clean the floor, we kind of have we kind of really don't have a successful team. And that's the same way with the board to soup to curriculum director, so on and so forth. That's where that trust that the Kelsey's talked about, that trust communication is so vital. And so we can't do that if we don't have a common why and we don't have a system of trust. And when that trust and communication breaks down, you got to bring it back in front of us every single time. And I would do that through this lens. And I do it through our Friday notes, and I do it through that communication, because it starts from the board all the way down. And so that's pretty, any reflection on any of that? That's kind of just the overview, if you will, of what you've just done the last 3 or 4 weeks. Anything you'd add to that? And the last piece I want to show you before we just jump into the dialogue tonight is how important this alignment is. This is the hardest job I think districts have to do. And to be honest, I think Dr. Doty and Kelly's job is to facilitate, to ensure that there is some clear alignment from what the board says is how we care about. And if you picked up on the mission, each student, you guys have 800 students. And so how do you address each one of their needs? If you're going to own that and we're going to live that, and how does it translate to what they do in the classroom every single day? Kind of a tough task, but you got a lot of smart people around this table. Got a lot of great teachers in this district. You got a lot of awesome support staff. How do you get them all on the same page? So before we jump in, I'm going to have you review this mission and vision, but I want you to think about, did we miss anything? Is there anything as we've reflected through this process from what we think a successful graduate is, or what the outcomes of the state says that we need to go and drive toward? I always love when we do this and people go, where's the academics at? The academics is still a core foundation, folks. If you can't read and write and do math, we've failed our students. But how do you embed some of these other things in those curricular areas that are so strong that it makes kids want to learn? Okay, and so real quick, you're going to take it your place, and I think it's page 5 and 6. 20 words or an elevator speech. If you and I were jumping on an elevator speech or on an elevator, what would you tell me? You got about 30 seconds between floor 1, floor 2. And if you took a little gander at the mission and vision, and I'm coming new, let's say I talked to Mary since I know her name. I ran into her and my wife and I are thinking, we might move the community. We got 3 beautiful daughters. And this seems like, I was telling Bryce, this seems like a nice size. It really does. Corey's a little bit big. It's got its challenges with being that big, and it seems like Council Grove is what I'm comfortable with. And so what would you say as you think about the current mission and vision? How would you articulate that in words to somebody in your community or somebody potentially that's thinking about coming to school here? So I'll give you a moment with your shoulder partner. The best part of this is you can assign the report to yourself. I don't have to. And so we'll have a couple of you report out. Whether you say 20 words you write down or you want to just jump on the elevator with me, we'll kind of share that out.
Yeah, well, I know, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like say that's not new, you know what I mean, that, yeah. I really want to prepare. So that's a lot of that.
Small.
Yeah, and just because. There are the ones that are different. If they're, we asked for this.
Yeah, like this. And what they need. We didn't. You know, so we added this team and then something else. I don't remember.
Like, if there's a need, it seems like it's filled somehow.
Well, and with the biggest that supports us.
Yeah. But that's really good here.
By and large, our community supports.
Maybe it's.
Enough time, folks? Need a little bit more?
Well.
Yeah, so.
Their team is helping her. Are there? I like them staff. We didn't put our.
About all the things. Start with just.
Yeah.
Gives her a little bit more research.
Terry's going on over here. I'm afraid if you start using all these, then you just sound like you're preaching. I know.
Let's start on this side this time. So let's just spitball and nobody, there's no test here, but what would you say? What are those 20 words or that commentary, if you will, of how you sell your district?
First and foremost, we thought that it was already very brief and to the point, and we liked that. Like, we could basically just read that to them and still have time, but then we kind of talked about some other things, but mostly if we were gonna just break it down, we weren't gonna use the key terms because that makes it seem like you're reading something, and basically would just say something like, we have an amazing staff who cares about every student's success and not just in the classroom, but in life as well. And just short and sweet and not sound quite so, you know, you start using big words and sound like you're preaching to people a little. Even though they're important and they're great words. But if
Yeah,
I was just in an elevator.
It's interesting you say that, because I think the vision is much more in layman's terms, if you will. And the mission can kind of sound a little bit more academia focused. And so it's interesting you say that.
I like them both, but if I was just, somebody asked me, I wouldn't probably use these words. I go very simple.
About this middle group, any thoughts on things you'd add, or how would you, I mean, kind of I hate to say it, but aren't we in this kind of realm of we want every kid, right? And we really, as public schools, we have to take every kid whether we want to or not. And so what does that mean to you as board members?
We have to make everybody feel welcome. I think there's a huge relationship between the district and the community. We're seeing it right now with the current student who's struggling medically. And it's just crazy good in a good way to see the community support and show that family they're loved. And from a transplant, so to speak, somebody who's not from here, seeing that support shows that that family, or shows that the community cares about that family and each student. And it's not necessarily a vision or mission, but if I had something to say in an elevator trying to explain why we chose this district as somebody who's not from here, that would be why. So you said care. So you said, compassion.
It's funny.
It's a big thing.
I go into communities still this size, and you may have been here 25 years, but you're still not from here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. But the old guard will keep it that way. And so I appreciate you saying that. That's interesting. So anything else, folks, on this subject
We
resonate?
talked about how we were big enough to have programs for all, but small enough to pay attention to all.
Yeah, to each. That's kind of cool. That maybe is better than what we did. I'm gone. Come on, Terry. I like that. I like it. What did we miss, folks? When you think about that mission and vision, is there anything that you just feel like glaring that we left out or that's not mentioned there in your mind? And I don't know, and I don't want to wordsmith it, that's not the purpose, but is there something that's fundamental that we just totally left out or didn't think about? Right. Well, thank you for that. I love to hear the board articulate what their passion is about kids and their community, because you guys know it better than anybody. So thanks for that. Page 11, I just want to, this will be the last thing that I frame, and then we'll turn you loose the rest of the night, really, and we'll do some report outs around each goal area. And that's where the admin comes in to kind of help fill in those blanks of what did the community say? What was part of the discussion? And really, what are some of those strategies and outcomes that we should be looking for? As you recall, this may be a little bit of a repeat, but we ended up having 13 themes that came out of night one, if you recall. We had each table group do that, and then they identified individually. So those numbers on the right side, we had 54, whether they were individuals or individual stickers that said staff retention and recruitment support does. Me personally. So maybe Kelsey put that on one. That'd be one. So that's where the 54 comes. The table groups, every single table, you guys had a great showing of people, to be honest. You ought to be proud of that. Got a lot of people that care about what's going on. And that's, I did a training last night, 12 people. It was tough. It was hard. It was just hard. And so it's just not the depth of what you have. And so 7 table groups, so you can kind of see how that resonates. I thought it was interesting that learning opportunities, fine arts CTE was mentioned by only one table, but man, almost 30 people that says, hey, there's something there that we need to investigate. Then we took that, if you recall, and put those in those focus areas on the left, and then kind of clustered, if you will, the theme areas to kind of resonate with each focus area that then kind of starts to show up in here in some type of a little bit of formality. And so the community, if you recall, on the second night then, which you'll start to see, I think the first one we're going to unpack is student success, which on page 14. Then the community gave us feedback about each one of these. And really, sometimes the community is really great, and sometimes the community goes right to how they want to see it done, right? That's just human nature. Typically, you know, that's easier for us. Our brain is easier to say, hey, if I need to lose 20 pounds, I need to start exercising, eating better. Okay, we don't want you to tell me what I'm going to eat and how I'm going to exercise, but we want you to tell me that I need to lose weight. Okay, that's the what. And so it's hard for the community sometimes to do that, but for the most part, they did a really great job. Your job as board members with your confidant there is I want you to think about the why. So you're going to find the why at the top of the page. This is how the admin group and the board leaders helped kind of develop that goal. So if you think about the goal speaks to prepare students academically, socially, and emotionally for life beyond school. So when you think about that big overarching goal, which ones of these strategies, if you will, that's where your team will come in. Which one of these strategies that you feel like, and maybe there's something that's not up here. And the good thing about the board is the board gets to decide what's up here, and maybe there's something left off. But I want each one of you, and whether it's just partners or groups of 4, however you want to do it, so I want you to identify 3, maybe 4 that you feel like are starting points for us. And also that are general big buckets that we can start to tackle that will meet this goal that we've talked about academically, socially, and emotionally. Okay, is that fair? We're going to do these one at a time. We can take 5-10 minutes, however long you need. But identify 3 or 4 of these strategies that you feel like are the bigger swaths that we can start with, that you feel like we can get the most bang for your buck, if you will. We got to have a starting place. Okay, any questions? We'll give you about 5 minutes and check in. If we need a little bit more time, great, but see where we're at.
So we're coming up with more specific things than what are listed here.
No, this will give us so.
Pick us 3 or 4.
Yeah, you're picking from that list, or you may say as a board member, there's something that's totally missing. But typically, we're going to use the feedback from the community unless the board says, hey, there's something that's totally off.
In the left-hand column, doesn't necessarily drive our decision.
No, left-hand side, so Kelly made a good point. So left-hand side is what the community table group said prioritized. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables that thinks this is really important. That's great, okay, and I'm not discrediting that, but as a board member and board team, you get to decide what the priorities are.
Okay.
Okay, you're just using this feedback kind of as processing opportunity. So pick 3 or 4 and then we'll kind of report out and you'll see it'll come together as a commonalities.
I'm gonna read through them.
And ultimately, that's what's gonna show up on here, right?
That'll be our starting place, yep.
We don't have any trouble with this. But the difference between the purple and gold.
To your color. So your emblem. That was the emblem that.
Yeah, cause
That we matched.
And this.
I'm okay with whatever, I just read the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
Interested. It's a public doc. Here's the description.
Right.
So, yeah,
What was your other one, sorry? Right, but not if. Right. But I think that what I'm. Yes. And they're all behind her.
What I did is.
You ought to be able to draw.
So what I did.
What is it? But this is very.
Thank you.
We have
Part of that.
It is part of that. The other piece of it. I mean, I guess to me, we're gonna do this no matter what. There doesn't seem like something that we had, something that's not. Is it meant to be its own number? It's almost like I.
That was part of their job, and we're gonna continue to do, or they need us to put it in some plan that says they will.
Somebody's on. That hit me, I wrote those down, it's like rubber mechanism, and it's almost gauge for certain groups of people. Again, you can't, it's not that it can't be accomplished by some of the other things, it's just going to trickle down because of one thing, you know. Again, that's.
Right, and that's. Building and space that are.
Well, it's never gonna be a policy, it's not gonna be like, the board policy is 20 students to a class.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine.
So maybe that's how.
I know. Well, not even
I'm used to.
Did they see the thing that? And to me, what I heard about this whole they have to come forward with their needs. There is one, all the terms of it, where we develop programs and resources. It doesn't have that support, whether that's the big, small police department or PD or whatever. that kind of falls under that heading. Uh-huh.
I guess that's why.
I don't understand. I thought
Yeah.
Right.
Is it
So like the career guidance, developing individual plans of study and that's a state board. But I'm wondering why it rose to the top here.
Yeah, you bet.
It's not
Emotionally has nothing to do
Well, if there's something-
Yes, right.
For what they, for is that then determines your electives or. First night we were in there, there was a hearing.
Oh, you mean like
Yeah, nine different ways of communication, well, know something, and then hopefully they can write it.
I guess I read
Yeah.
But I.
Well, and if it's not something you're, for instance, before I just had an individual plan of study, that made no sense to me because I didn't know the context of what that meant for me. Right, you know what I mean? You could have told me about it and I didn't care because it didn't apply to me or my kids.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's related to each other.
Well, sure, yeah, it's not gonna be overnight.
Yeah.
And were these just- Are these actually right?
Yeah. All of the other ones had the most, see the provided resources, it had to agree, so it's here. So if it's.
That's still like use other.
Right.
Right.
Right. You change nothing, you're really just adding this.
We'll check here about these old ones, show it. All year round.
You, and it doesn't matter how many kids are in that.
And I have this one, which I, to me,
Right, and not kind of discombobulated and not even in the stuff that that's really good. I don't know about my numbers.
So then you just.
Needs, what you're saying. As we're not using this, it goes back to.
It goes back to that. Yeah, it is.
Because you can do all the things.
Yeah.
Only other one, and I don't know. that one
I was gonna.
There's more aligned.
Which, and I mean, I mean, really, I think it's.
I don't know that I can.
Things. So, I mean,
So how would you do that? But you have to do things in order to know.
Right.
If you're one.
But that's not because I have an overachiever.
If it's just.
Right.
Any area.
Class.
Have to do this
And then I have another one who.
Grade level.
Still 10%.
How much more time you need, folks?
Yes.
More time, less time?
No, we're good.
Good.
But if you could water into the sun part. Right.
Kelsey's, how much more time you guys need?
I have two.
So if I can bring you back together, I'll kind of show you how this works. I had a board member at Junction City one time, so I changed it up. He's a gynecologist and
Dr. Corey.
he just, he threw me under the bus and ran me over. He goes, "We're doing stickers again. Were you an elementary teacher?" I go, "Well, I thought stickers was kind of a really pretty nice strategy to get everybody involved, but I guess you don't like it, so I did it this way. It's, anyway, it was my rib at him, when I went back, but, let's start at this group. Give me your 3 or 4, and we're gonna put these together, and you'll start to see where the overlaps and commonalities are.
Okay, you just want us to tell you the ones that kind of rose to the top, okay. Recognize success with measures other than grades, which is the first one.
Sorry, give me this.
About halfway down, develop school culture where students feel safe and comfortable, talking about their needs. Near the bottom, increase communication. And then I was really on the fence about the last one,
Which is,
about ensuring all those things are aligned. I don't know if that's just a given,
The bottom
the
one.
very bottom one,
oh, thank you.
or if we need to spell it out. So. Oh, really? Well, there we go. Maybe we do need to spell it out.
That might be good feedback as we
Yeah.
get it, so good. All right, Terry, you were with them? Yeah. All right, how about right in here, the Kelsey group?
The develop program and resources to best support mental health needs. Maintain smaller class sizes. Increase communication and education for parents and community. And then we added one. We can add, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Stable teacher to grade level sections with grade level consistency. Meaning that, how do I
You
explain it
have-
better?
So, for example, at Council Grove Elementary School, this year we have 3 teachers that teach kindergarten. Well, next year our kindergarten class is only gonna be 2 sections, so we have to have one of those teachers move to a different grade level.
Yeah, say,
So they
okay,
don't have to learn.
tell me that
and
one more time.
Change each year.
Stable,
Stable teacher to grade level sections with grade level consistency.
Consistency.
gotcha. Perfect.
Did you guys?
We were doing.
Okay, I didn't know if you started all of the same ones.
All right, Dr. Scripton?
So we had the provide resources that are needed for students, staff and programs. And we had the develop program and resources to best support mental health needs. The increased communication, education for parents and community about student support. Those were our 3 main ones.
We only did 3, sorry.
No, that's no worry. I guess that's not how you do that. All right, last group.
So first off, we felt like a couple of these belonged in the other sections, so we didn't pick them because we felt like they fit better in that section.
We had that same discussion.
So, but, we said if we were just doing 3, we did the develop program and resources to best support mental health. We did the maintain smaller class sizes, but we added in to use evidence-based practices with that. Because just apparently having a small class size is not enough to ensure good outcomes. And
And
then
hopefully have a great teacher in there.
then our final 2 were either to recognize success with measures other than grades, or the bottom, ensure root cause, because we kind of felt like ensure root cause is a given. And didn't know if it needed, like, we are gonna be doing that anyways. We didn't know if that needed to be a focus, or it needed to be a focus because it's a given. So we kind of talked in a circle.
If it was an end or a means to an end.
What was your one before that, Jimmy?
The top one.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So
Thank you,
grab that green that's sitting out there on the side.
thank you. Now, if there was 1 or 2 of these that, and I overheard this group, that was maybe more parent, community involvement.
Yeah, we thought that needed to go with the parent engagement.
I also felt like the safe school culture one went into the mental health needs one.
We
We
thought
flipped
the
it.
other way.
Oh.
We thought that
They
the
went
bigger,
together.
I was just,
Yeah.
yeah,
put together.
Yeah, like the
Me too.
heading was safety and mental health, and then developing the programs would be.
Yeah.
The steps.
We
or
can work
whatever.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We just thought they went together.
Mhm.
I figured if you did one, the other one followed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's
Which also
exactly,
includes the crosswinds.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
Crosswinds.
which
yeah.
is the one,
Right.
strengthen
Yeah.
partnership with
Yeah.
Crosswinds, so
That
they're
would
all the
be,
same.
They go
Uh-huh.
together.
Thank you,
Yeah.
yeah. So I try my best not to change what the community says, because otherwise you change too much and they're like, well, why'd you ask me? And so now we'll take your input, your final swath, if you will, and start to kick. So that we can get some manageable, and I'm not stuck to 4, I'm not stuck to 3 or 5, whatever the board says we're gonna do, that's where we're gonna start. And so this is very helpful. Other things before we move to student experiences. All right, so rinse and repeat. This should be on, I believe, page 15. Yeah. 16 also, folks, 15 and 16.
What are those ones?
Yeah, just a couple. Bryce, how do you change the inside of that thing? I thought it was filled, but. it is. Oh, yeah, one there, there you go. Yeah, for some reason. it didn't.
It should, I think, my mind kind of gets off at school. I think they
I know, but we've agreed, so, you know. These feel a lot similar to me. I'm having a hard time. Which should rise to the top.
That's one of the left here.
Several of these that kind of go together. So you can get your volunteers to your professional support. I mean, some of these will tie together.
Well,
And if you really start to.
That's what I'm recognizing. They're working in the environment, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think there needs to be something.
Yeah, growth and passion and faithful community. But make it throughout the education piece, the
So is that?
yeah, which is what then all those other ones seem to fall underneath that fourth one.
Yes. Oh. Get trouble, yeah.
Yeah, some of them I don't understand.
Should be.
Mhm.
And maybe it's not.
And it doesn't mean
the
that's
word
right.
evaluate, I'm not sure what the right word would be. Scary. When I read it, when I first out and I said it, I was. What needs to happen? Checking in, like, there's the schedule and the calendar to meet the need. I guess evaluation.
Pretty much right.
I just think of evaluation. It's like.
Right, right.
Right.
Should we increase our date by 15? What can we do different? Just thinking better. What's our opinion?
This is. I think this is. I think everything. Probably don't. And then have a conversation back.
Opportunities for students to take.
And I, yeah. I like
Yep.
that.
And I get, I think.
Because that would address some of the same fear about. And there's stuff in here.
That's what you are saying. Spend an hour in the training, then you know, and then driver's
Well, we have enough research now that what?
So they're not on the station.
There's all kind of evidence there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Well, that even applies to, you know. Kids to the talking and the learning.
I'll let you say what you want.
Oh, I don't know.
Let you do that.
There's a lot of people that just wish I would shut up too, so. Yeah. Not a lot of kids talking in class.
How do you?
So,
I mean. Ignoring
Right. It's fun, so. Because if you having those things, every student. That's what I would.
This was the one that they started on.
About 4 minutes.
If you had a bad experience in high school,
Right.
not at our high school.
Right, we've got it.
And we spend a lot of time engaging their bad experiences.
Kids and their life. Yeah, so I think everything okay?
And that's happening.
All right, so for fairness, we're gonna start at this end this time. And I finally got a color ready for you, so you're red this time, so you guys. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna preface this with both of us had trouble connecting to this section. Because one, some of them, we just don't understand what they're meaning, to be honest. And two, we really feel like we're doing so many of these awesome things, maybe they just don't know about them.
Oh, okay.
So that's our whatever disclaimer.
So we have our own color now, but we really don't
Yeah, so we only picked two. We picked the create opportunities for students to take ownership of their learning. Specifically, the independent plan of study.
Yep.
Or individualized plan of study. And then the very last one, to strengthen community relationships with the school district. And more, not that we're doing bad, but to do that better. And I know, I'm pretty sure this is my table, but one of the reasons that is on there is because we talked a lot about cultivating workers. Through partnerships with businesses in town so that they could get on the job training, and when they graduate, they already had a job ready. Then if it's a business in town, they've got a worker. Or they go to college, but they know they have a job waiting at, when they're done, get their welding degree, they can come back in town and work wherever, because they'd already strengthened that relationship before they left, so.
Which is related to the individual
Yeah.
plan of
Yep.
study.
Is the thing in that.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
good.
we kind of, I guess,
That's the only two we felt strongly about.
we.
You know, it's interesting when
Understand
we,
a lot.
and Kelly kind of, I think, I'm more of a microwave and you're a little bit more crock pot, is that fair? As it's kind of a processing. And so when we think about this, that first goal is around truly the academic, social of the student. The second goal is about opportunities, which really kind of overlaps into some of the community engagement. And so really maybe the engagement looks different than the actual opportunity that kids are gonna have. And so those kind of is a best way, I don't know if I said that right, but the whole student and then the opportunity that we can create as a district for kids to experience that learning. So those are kind of two differences that, and I think you said it right. I mean, how you articulated it. So. All right, next group.
We said the second one, encourage civic engagement and volunteerism. And then the next one underneath that, the evaluate schedule calendar. And then the second one from the bottom. Increase FEL trauma informed, sorry, the bottom of the first page. So the increase FEL trauma informed practices and the course planning.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, the Kelsey gang over there.
So I think they had their.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the things that we talked about too, it sound very familiar, like we didn't understand. Some of the things that they were asking, we also felt like we were doing a lot of these things and maybe our communication just needs to be better, that people know that we're doing these things.
Okay.
But we picked something more. The first one, provide resources for positive learning environment. And then the evaluate, schedule and calendar. Create opportunities for students to take ownership of their learning.
We talked about revisiting the semester. Right.
And just getting some information out, you know, why, what are the pros, what are the cons? That's what people know.
Better understand.
Develop character, education and development for students, the next to the last one.
I got you. Yep, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm keeping track over here on that one. Okay, Kelsey.
Go ahead. Okay. Number 2, encourage civic engagement and volunteerism. Evaluate the current level of staff, third from the bottom. And second from the bottom on the second page, develop character education and development for students.
What did you guys think the evaluate the
Yeah.
current level of staff meant?
Does anybody know what that means?
So, yeah.
I asked that exactly, and I was
Yeah.
like, no matter what, I'm not picking it. Never mind. I didn't know what that meant.
We thought back to in terms of engagement, we talked a lot about if, to just ensure that our teachers are using their time efficiently and effectively.
I didn't even think of it that way.
So that's instructional level.
Yeah.
Staff.
Alright,
Yeah.
instructional.
Hey, what was the last one you said? I'm sorry.
On the back page.
Number
And
second
develop
from the
character.
bottom, develop character
Thank you.
education.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm still, oh man.
And we could be off on that. That was just our interpretation.
That's.
Well, if we
didn't
use it,
know
we're
how
gonna have to add
interpret it,
some
so
words.
that was our problem.
Yeah.
We got scared
I
of
think
that
it
one.
might be good to.
We are not
reword
keeping
it.
the words at the, no offense to the community, we're not keeping these.
Okay,
words.
yeah, because it sounds pretty
What
degrading.
we're,
Yeah.
what we're keeping is the gist of what the board
Yeah.
desires is what the outcome would be.
And then we keep it.
Yes, yeah.
And honestly, we were trying to come up with a third one until we remembered there was some on the back, so.
So Dr. Doty will bring this back in this form of your feedback. And give you another opportunity to say, hey, is this articulate your thoughts of what the conversation was? And so, yeah. And because it might be that him and Kelly sit down and kind of clean that up to make it,
Yeah.
I mean, hate to say it, so it sounds more district focused from the board instead of a community person at this point, but we got the input that we needed, so. All right, last group.
We have the 3rd, 4th, and 5th one, so evaluate, schedule, and then the next 2 right under it, develop and create.
Well, Mary, that's easy, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, perfect.
And just, we kept seeing some of the same words again. So again, we felt that they fell underneath some of the others. The word civic engagement, volunteerism, community partnerships, community professionals. Going over to the next page, community relationships, those things. We all feel like those already filtered in under something else. So that's why we stayed where we did.
You know, when I see this and kind of articulate Kelly's thought is SEL, I would throw back over to the first goal.
Me too.
And these other things, life skills, social skills, IPSs, all the things that are system oriented, civic engagement, what do those things really look like in your community? How do we build those out? What's it look like if you're a 3rd grade teacher and you're trying to develop social skills for a student versus a high school teacher? That to me is the gist of this goal versus, and same with life. It's funny, how many of you can change a tire if you're on your way home tonight? How many of you can do that and how important is it? Maybe that's not the one you need. Hey, we follow me home, by the way. But you know, that's the gist, I think, of this one, is to kind of help clarify a little bit. All right. Parent communication, folks, page 13. We're rolling. We need to keep moving though. We got 3 left and we got 3 minutes, so 5 minutes and we'll report out.
Maybe that's what it means.
We want to move here.
Yeah, it was.
14.
So
14. I think it's 13. 13. Yeah. Parent and community. Yeah, it could move.
I don't
Yeah.
Which.
Well, it's just, I didn't have the way, I just say would be better. No, I think we got that wrong. People color.
I didn't go through. Yeah, you're less than a little wet, but so.
Yeah, we were going to do thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, definitely. Be looked at. Program, I know that's the strong pieces of it, but to keep that communication flowing. There's some growth areas, and how could the board and the system.
The research. But there actually really is some now.
I mean, the one about identify ways for parents to be more involved engaged. And don't forget how that's really. Like, just a bit, like consider all the ways in which we can get more involved. And, you know.
Tie that together with. Increase.
That one. The way it sounds here is that it's up to the parents to be more involved, and I will tell you, yes, I like the system. One kid did really good about telling me things, and the other kid didn't. And my level of involvement depended on my kids sometimes.
You say my third Mary.
Well, it's not, it's also tied.
Right.
Well,
Be able to carry this out here, so.
Positive activity, then school explore ways for parents to increase parents' involvement. I mean, I was kind of tying those together. Because the more you. Because our kid didn't tell us what their kid did, so.
Situation.
None of our kids are be around that.
Yeah,
It's the weirdest
So he's like a driving limit.
So I got. That's like that. We got.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I think I'm hearing you say you're kind of at a stopping point.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelsey, let's start with your group. I'm trying to be kind to every group.
You gotta
so
roll your screen down the wrong page.
I'm on the wrong page. There we go.
All right, well, we chose number 4, identify ways for parents to be more involved and engaged. Develop meaningful opportunities for community partnerships. And identify methods to ask for ongoing feedback.
That's always fun, isn't it? There's always plenty of people want to give feedback, so. Good, thank you. All right, we have a new group here, so we'll start with the new group, so. I'm teasing.
We had some of the same ones they did. We also had provide social media education for staff and parents. And continue mentoring program for students and staff.
Identify ways for parents to be more involved.
Okay, I thought that was one we already had, so I thought that was.
I think we're counting them.
We're counting them.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Talk to the group.
Oh, well, we did the wrong one.
I'm sorry,
We did the wrong one.
Oh, so you'll be ready next
So
time.
we'll be ready next.
that's all right. That's okay. All right, we can, you can do the opposite one next time and we'll come back to you. So
Okay.
I'm flexible. Go ahead.
We did the enhanced communication.
We feel like some of these could be globbed together.
And doing one thing would hit multiple goals. Provide social media education. Develop meaningful opportunities for community partnerships. And then we had a lot of discussion about the bottom one in poverty. Because we don't feel like a section of our community understands how much poverty there is. That there are some very big splits. And I don't know that everybody is aware. I mean, I don't know that the general community knows we have 50% at risk.
And what that really means, what that really looks like.
50% of our kids are on free lunch. And you look downtown and we look real pretty and shiny, which is awesome. But I think people think that we've just got lots of money and no poverty.
Or the state's definition of homeless.
That one's tricky because we also have to be careful when we talk about poverty, that we're not bringing it from the lens of these poor kids
Right.
that can't do anything.
Lazy.
That's a real tricky one.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good insight. I think developing some understanding, some empathy is, yeah, good. Oh, that's good.
We had enhanced communication, which is the second one. We continue mentoring program, but we really talked about how it maybe needs to just be looked at about what is working and what is our growth areas with that.
We didn't like the word continue.
Yeah, and then promote positive activities within each school. And we also kind of had to identify ways for parents to be more involved, but that one felt almost like we were blaming parents. It almost feels like identify ways we can get parents to be more involved and engaged, so.
Yeah, good. Thank you. All right, let's slide over to staff. So you're gonna find staff on page 12, I believe. Got 2 left. You guys are doing well. You're Tasha, you're gonna.
Billy, are you?
be a parent.
Oh, okay.
We did facilities.
Just like flip the page. We did facilities.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I had to, yep. You guys are overachievers.
Then I clicked look.
Yeah, it's,
That should be
nice.
As a meeting and everybody should be down from the building.
So.
I know Mr. Mike does that. Money, what happens? Somebody programs and on the staff, you gotta watch him. Yes.
I know. Unless we bring them into the school.
Is this already in business?
Well, but I also think that there's a place in the community where we have conversations. These are kind of things that start this conversation. This was brought up.
Kind of a broad word.
We're gonna say when it's brought up.
I mean.
Yeah, where you talk about the housing, the job opportunities, all those pieces that fit.
If you were to don't want to have. Everything that makes it. Less likely to. Even if days is where he is. Because I think it's important every board.
Yeah.
It's extremely important.
And they get to see it.
This.
I see.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I, yeah. It's.
We're gonna have to continue.
There are other things.
Yeah, if you are one.
Geographically.
Like, you're right.
I mean, I'm especially if you know like that. Hospital here, right? It's not only. Good stuff. I do like.
Yeah.
Willing to take their thing.
Well, and it feels like.
This is my face, I look.
I'll leave that one for you.
I have many faces.
But it's almost like.
Come on back together, folks.
I know.
Conversations about reaching out.
You know, typically I'm not, typically I'm never short of words, but we'll just keep moving. All right, let's start, board president's table here. Where you guys married?
Yes, okay. Third one down, work with colleges and universities to attract talent. And then there's one that says, increase accessible and affordable housing. And we know we need to be having those conversations. And something to do with the community. We just don't know that that's the right thing there, but we want to keep it on the list. And then, evaluate, increase, and develop effective communication.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything, group?
Good. All right, Kelsey.
We said, develop culture where staff feels connected to district and community. Increase compensation and benefits. And increase substitute availability. Bottom.
Thank you. All right, next group.
We had continued development and instructional coaching. And then,
I'm gonna shove that over, I'm gonna put that onto that. One of them's gonna combine from that last group, if you remember, because it had that mentoring piece on there too, somehow we need to.
And we had the one
I
on.
think this is specific to teacher mentoring and not the mentoring program for students.
Yeah. The other one was student mentoring.
Like, we wanna
But it
use
doesn't
that.
say that on the other one.
Yeah,
It says student and staff.
And the moving.
Okay, yeah.
We had the one that increased staff support at the elementary level. And two, the one I had on evaluate, increase and develop effective communication. And then we had some question marks coming down at the bottom, increase substitute availability. Heather said,
And a magic wand.
we constantly try
Evaluate.
and develop communication opportunities for parents and community to support them.
Tina
And
Ray,
so
what one did I
Then you
miss
need one back up where it was the evaluate, increase and develop communication. It's got a blue dot. It's in
there?
the
You
middle.
go. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, all right, last group or Tasha's group, I guess.
We
Would you
put
rate
all
this?
4 of ours on the top one.
We didn't, no, we didn't. Okay, one there though, for real. One at number 4, develop culture. And then towards the bottom, evaluate, increase and develop effective communication.
I'm a little biased. I think you're awesome too.
Thanks.
I don't develop it, I think it's there.
Yeah, aren't you good enough already? What the heck?
We
Can
need
you
more
get better?
like her.
I was gonna say, if we could duplicate myself, I could get a lot more done.
This is first.
Yeah.
All right, Kelly.
We'd like to change our wording a little bit, but ours is the top one and more support instead of continue to develop. Keep supporting that, then develop the culture. The
Continue to support. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
mentoring and instructional coaching and make sure that we're allocating those resources and not necessarily developing.
Okay.
Although there's still always room to grow, but, and then increase compensation and benefits for staff and not necessarily increase, but stay competitive with our compensation. And then the last one was the housing one. And once again, maybe not increase, but be part of the discussion.
Yeah, having that, and I'm assuming you do, having a standing committee with all the parties of the county, city, maybe that happens now, I don't know. but-
GMDC does that. We have voices.
Yeah, because unfortunately, that has probably very little to do with the school district. But it does have something to do with the school district. part of the
When
payment,
they
so,
drive for an hour from out of town, they're not gonna stay here long.
Yeah,
Well, they don't take the job to begin with. They wanted to, but they couldn't find a house, so they turned in.
Yeah.
Hard place to
Continue
even
to be
rent.
at the table.
Yeah,
all right, folks, sliding over to the last one, facilities.
now you guys.
Now, really.
Ooh, this better be a good one. We're not disappointed.
I hope that was-
You like those ones?
Mostly
Very.
And I don't even know that, so someone help me understand that. That was a new. I'd never even heard.
It's like longer than this meeting. that's what you're right.
I just. I mean, okay.
It's about.
Is it the high school that we're talking about?
Yeah, the 1918 building.
Well, this moment. But as we move forward, in 10 years from now, maybe something different.
Right, well, I was just, I didn't realize that we had the high school.
Right. Especially. Three looks like. Okay, if we got 1983.
It would be the part that was our high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the rest. It just Yeah.
No, I feel like it's not always,
Yes, I know that I see everybody. You have the facilities.
yeah, we just didn't really have to didn't have discussion. Yeah, the inflation.
I feel like we have a lot of.
Yeah. We will need one.
There's some good,
There are
some
some
really good ones. You know,
That's their. But give them side.
Right.
Whatever they can.
Say that was a priority.
Yeah.
Okay.
They kind of, you know.
You good or you need to?
No, we're good.
I mean, in a perfect world. I have one
I know it's.
Right.
Somebody that's sitting there.
I don't know.
All right, let's come back together.
Yes.
All right, let's start down here. Kelly's group, if you don't mind.
The crock pot.
The crock pot, yes, ma'am. Start the crock pot. It's been simmering for about an hour.
The first one. Which we think also the one that talks about updating academic spaces goes with the first one. I mean, the problem with them,
Where's the academic spaces at?
it's right there, two, that's all two. I mean, we think those two kind of,
They do.
they go together.
You're absolutely right. I wanted to try to,
It's our academic spaces that need updating.
Yeah, we've got to make them look as wonderful as our athletics. And then we have to keep up with the safe and secure schools. Whatever it takes to continue with that. Those were really the ones we had.
Two, really.
Yes, it was.
all right. How about prime time? Make this worth it. I hope this better be good.
Yeah, but it's so good.
First one, the first one.
We have one more than you.
And then we also had continued to improve safe and secure schools, interesting.
You guys don't
And
think-
then we had, increased communication on facilities and resources to all stakeholders.
What does it mean? Like we just talk about what we've got?
Yes, that's how I take it. We just talk, we communicate
What?
all the things. Yeah, that's how I take it.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if something like that, Jay, when you guys have site council at your place,
Yeah.
you know, one time a year, you dedicate your site council to doing some tour visits, things like that. Some of these things are just in bed with what you're already doing.
Yeah, we did that this year,
Instead of
and a lot of people, there's parts of our building, they don't even know they're there.
Right now.
And you might show them the good parts, you might show them the old parts, and I think, cause how
There's
do you
no
have
closet
a?
left untouched in your building, no matter.
Well, I remember when we were going through the bond issue process, that was probably, we sat there and said it's an old, we need a new building, but people didn't really know. You know, they don't know that you put a brand new boiler in a building that's 1980, it still doesn't fix the problem. You know, so we probably didn't do as good a job at that time of what are the specific problems.
I don't know, I gave building tours for that, so I think it was
I got a
pretty.
bone to pick with. You didn't point the things out.
I felt weird.
If we would have had 5 instructional coaches, it would have been taken care of.
No, I was a student at the time.
Oh,
yeah.
I followed Jay's script, so.
But when you guys, when you say
Yeah,
facilities,
yeah,
is it
yeah,
also
that's
to
so
you
bad.
like
3 or 4 years ago.
heating and air conditioning? It's not just the actual,
Yeah, people,
like, we shouldn't have
People don't
people
know
in
that.
rooms with no air conditioning.
people don't know that we,
Ready to know that it wasn't.
Yes, yes,
or windows that let in snow, you know,
Yeah.
it's those types.
yeah, I mean,
Or that can't open.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like an easy thing, but if you embedded that in something you're already doing, over time, when you had to go to the community and ask them for something, there's gonna be a lot more people that understand when you say, hey, we got kids in spaces they really shouldn't. Oh, what's that mean? Yeah.
Or adult, or support staff, or adults in space.
I was gonna say, we need to get kids to use social media and TikTok videos to show how awful kids are. They're so good.
Right.
They just need to do the bad
Your group's
business
up?
stuff they sell. Okay, we did number 1, but we also thought that one went with the develop plan on improving and updating academic spaces and continue to improve safe and secure schools. So we kind of grouped those 3 together.
Well, I like you. That's good.
Yeah, and then, you know, we would love to have, the mental health resources and reduced screen time. But it is kind of a parent issue, so I don't know how to control that.
$9.
Yeah, we said that's on point.
Well, that's a good goal. It really is. I like that. I have to remember where I was at. Gosh darn it. They had mandatory no screen time built into their day. As a goal. I mean, they were hardcore about it, but they did it in a nice way to teach kids, but their teachers had to come up with good, effective strategies though. Like, for example, like the last 10 minutes of your hour, instead of, hey, work on your own or stand at the door, it had to be something really productive. And so there was a lot of PD around, hey, what could those things be? And we can maximize that time and reduce screen time. And so that's an interesting topic, really is. So glad you picked up on that. Kelsey's?
We picked number 1. And all the ones that fall underneath it that they've mentioned kind of go hand in hand, including the continue to improve safe and secure schools. And not only, you know, how we roll that into enhancing and maintaining facilities, but go through, for an example, active shooter response. Like scenarios, going through those as practice. And then number 2, proactive approach to enhancing technology and PDP.
Good. Saw a webinar today on AI and K-12 education. Brain hurts about that, so how about the last group?
start using it and then your brain won't hurt. You just tell the AI what you
I
needed to say.
know.
Okay,
What's Mary's second name?
yes,
Mary
it'll
Kay?
come up with one, yeah. It'll tell you, well, I'm not able to, I don't know.
Fisherwoman.
Yeah, okay. The first one, we have it on the first one. And then, the third one down, use technology to create critical thinking. If we're gonna have the technology, I guess that's what we wish to have it.
We also tied, just like the other group did, the develop plan on improving and updating academic spaces and the safe and secure schools to that first one.
Gotcha. Yep, cool. All right, gang. I'm gonna come back later if you have any on that parent engagement. Okay.
I think we're good.
Hey, I want to show this real quick, because it's 7 o'clock when you get out of here. But I was talking to Bryce and Dr. Doty about we spent this time and effort, to engage our community, build this transparency, create these clear goals. And so now, how do we build a schedule, if you will, that we're intentional about this work? And so as we adopt a new calendar, I would suggest that you think about doing something like this, where you say in July and January, we're gonna bring student success, goal 1, if you will, back to the board table. Now, what that means is, and I didn't show the governance clock because we don't have enough time, but essentially that governance clock says that the board says what we're gonna do. And now we gotta give the staff in the room here some time to figure out the development plans, implement, and really monitor those plans. And so twice a year, you may hear an update on that goal. And that goal may be from, let's just say, the high school in July, and maybe in the elementaries in January, however you want to structure it. Maybe there's maybe there's That's not me. Maybe there's students and staff here to help articulate that, but that's the how that the board can hear. But you're also talking about what are the data points that says that would tell you that we're making growth. And that's another layer to this of how we're gonna evaluate this. And so I would serpentine these in here. The other piece that I really like is how do you make this work reflective of your superintendent? That's really, to me, best practice. If the board says this is important, this is what we should be thinking about, you know, as we evaluate our superintendent. Questions, thoughts? If you're not familiar with the governance clock, but that's what it is, but. We were right at our time, folks, and I want to be kind to that because you've been kind to me about spending these nights out. Can't thank the board enough. It takes a lot of extra nights for the board. You guys are committed to this process. You're committed to growing. I can't thank you enough. We had 4 board members last night where I was at, and that's unfortunate. I know people are busy, but you can tell this community, you guys care about what's going on, and it shows by you coming and using your voice. And so I know your community appreciates that too. And they might not tell you, but I know they do. So other thoughts before we part ways?
No, just echo what you said. Thank you all for your involvement in your project and your thinking and your abilities and gifts. So thank you.
Ma'am.
Everyone will be shocked that I have a comment, but I am, I'm a little bit concerned about how we roll this out to staff. At the community night, we only had 2 staff members there, so I'm a little concerned about how we roll this out to them and, what the perception will be of it, since only 2 staff members were able to make it to the, community nights.
Yeah. Got a couple ideas for you, and we don't need to share it right here, but a couple ideas and
Yeah.
thoughts about things that you guys can consider as you do.
Well, and my concern is that we're rolling out 5 action plans that have to do with KISA at the same time. So how much does the staff, they'll be directly involved in the KISA plans.
So everything I've seen is those KISA goals should be dovetailed.
I
into
can
these.
see where they go.
That way they're
You have
not,
to be very intentional about
Yeah.
saying where they go.
because if you're a teacher, what's that?
And this be the umbrella.
Absolutely. Because if you have KISA goals, they should align with one of these goals so nicely. So your teacher goes, hey, student success, here's the data, here's the key, everything, kind of that slide earlier, they gotta be congruent, because if they're all separate, there's just no, and the needs assessment, if you will, should be one of those data collection pieces that comes back from each one of your buildings to this place, so you can see how we're making progress. That's gonna be a work in progress. It's gonna take some time. And it may not be ready for August. That's what you as a staff need to decide, say, maybe when you get our teachers in the room and start to unpack, how would they define a successful graduate at each one of their levels? How do you look at it elementary? If the board says it looks like this, what's it look like at each one of the levels to get to this larger outcome? If you will, that's the lag measure. You guys are developing the lead measures, kind of what Tasha's saying, is how do you get your staff invested to say, because the staff's job, whether you agree with this or not, is not to tell the board what the outcomes are gonna be. That's the board's job. Staff's job, to be honest, is to figure out how the lead measures, how to accomplish the umbrella, if you will. And that's just, I mean, to me, that's a clear cut rule. And so I think you can help with that to get your staff involved where they feel like these are things they're gonna get to own. And maybe a little bit more focused than they've had in the past, which I think they'll appreciate, so.
Tasha, sorry,
No, go ahead.
are you worried that they're gonna just think it's one more thing on the plate or a buy-in, or what is your concern? Or is it a concern you can articulate? Or are you just?
I'm concerned that it's gonna be like an us versus them kind of thing, like, oh, well, they created that, like. I guess that's does that answer your question?
So more trying
Like,
to get
not
their
buy-
buy-in?
yeah.
Okay, I just wondered what,
And like, yes, they had an opportunity to come and be a part of it, but I think if we could capitalize on those 2 staff members that did come, and luckily it was an elementary and a secondary. And I think with their permission, if they could be kind of leaders of, if you have any questions, you could ask April or Renee, and they were able to make it to the community nights and they could explain, or any of the admin, but I just think it's important that staff can see themselves in it, and it's not just something, oh, that's something they created down there at the district office.
So let's paint this picture if you don't mind, and leave if you need to. But when you think about, I don't think you have a staff member here that would disagree with the board goal. I mean, if you do, I'd love to talk to them just for fun. But as a teacher, married to one, and I'm a recovering teacher, mind you. But I would think most teachers, and you work with them every single day too, that the academic and social emotional is a pretty big focus. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So then if I just take this, and this is one of your priorities, we're not telling the teachers what to do. What we're doing is letting them now unpack this. And they're gonna get to wrestle with it. And they're gonna say, what are some of the programs and resources that we should provide, maybe create, start to develop? And what's it look like in the elementary? I mean, if we're doing this work, what would some of these things be? And there could be a lot of possibilities. They're already doing those things. But now we're actually making this coherent process from top to bottom so that we're working together. And then when I go to the middle school, how does it dovetail the elementary? How does it dovetail to the high school to reach the outcome?
So then what
From
I,
a board perspective, the piece that we're saying we'll bring to the table is to support those needs. Because so often in education, and it's happened for 100 years, something, whether it be from the state or the federal, or we throw a mandate out and don't give resources for it.
Yeah.
So part of what we're saying we'll do now is provide some resources to help achieve those goals. And that's where that partnership, I think, becomes powerful.
yeah,
And Tasha, I think that's a valid concern, only because I had some teachers ask me, why didn't we get the invite, or why weren't we there? But I agree with Terry that it becomes our lens of kind of some decision making, and there might be some pieces as you all look through the lens of KISA and all of those things that don't align. And we need to know that out of the gate, or the lens might be, let's evaluate all the things we have right now that are showing student success. And is there something we need to add, or is there something we need to take off the plate? You
So
know?
yeah, I guess what I hear now is a factor that's gonna come into play is time. Like we're already planning our August days back to school, and it's gonna take a lot of time to wrestle with this information and look at it and decide on those lead measures. I mean,
Maybe next year.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
I mean,
yeah, like
Honest to
panicking, like
God.
when are we gonna have staff do this? And I feel like you have to give them dedicated time and probably some structured conversation around it.
And maybe the message right now is just the 5 areas, like we've kind of honed in on some
Mhm.
important things.
Yeah, and even
And here's
we
the
will-
lens we're gonna be looking through as board members for a while.
Yeah.
And not give them all the details.
Yeah, I think that
You
would
know what I
be-
mean?
And communicated from the board
Yeah.
to the staff.
Yeah.
Everybody
Is that
loves
the
sports
idea?
analogies. But to complement the thoughts, to pull them together, is if I was a basketball coach, nobody is telling me how to coach the game, how to develop my players, what skills they need, but the rules are outlined for me. Those are the policies. Those are the things that the board has said, here's the confines that you're working within. This is what we say as a board and as a community that we expect. But how you do those things, the art of the teaching, how you get to that point, that's the coaching part. That's the individual, hey, should I put this player in? Should I use this strategy? Man, what play should I run? Those are all things that we want to empower our staff to do, because they're the experts. But so this is just providing this clear framework district-wide that we can get some alignment of what, when a kid comes in as a preschooler and leaves as, to be honest, as a 13, when they enter that second year of post-secondary something, that you could be really proud to say, hey, we've achieved this mission and vision that we've set out. And that takes a lot of lift. Don't get me wrong, we be honest, we've done the easy part. And the board's hard part is to own this along the way to make sure this is the lens of how they make decisions. Bryce and I were talking about a lot of times you just say, hey, thanks a lot, good to see you, Dr. R, and then you put it in a drawer. That's the hard part, is to bring it back and to try to own it. And it is gonna be messy. We could have had every teacher in there that we wanted to, and they're still gonna have, because I'm married to one, a lot of anxiety until they get to grapple with it and figure out how it looks for them in their second grade class or their kindergarten. Because that's just human nature, right? So that's good comment, good thinking. That's where you professionals, right here, the admin, and put your hands on, figure out what that looks like. So.
And just for clarification, all staff were invited.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I just
yeah. the
filled in
email
that
went.
question.
Yeah.
I said there was staff there.
There's not belief.
Great to see everybody. I don't know if we made a motion to.
No, we have an executive session, so we need,
Fun.
people to clear the room. We've got work to do.
5 minutes?
Yeah, because we'll let Dr. Hart get cleaned up and everything, and then we'll come back and actually make that motion and go from there. So we'll recess for 5 minutes. See ya.
You don't need to. Either way.
Right. No, you guys are Monday. We'll see you Monday.
Okay.
Yes. Stop recording for right now while we're at break, and then we'll. Are we good, Bryce?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception, the non-elected personnel exception under coma. And the open meeting will resume in the board meeting in 15 minutes.
With,
With everyone in the room, including Bryce.
can I get a second?
I'll second this.
Been seconded by Jamie. There's a motion that we go into an executive session for personnel for 15 minutes with the board, Dr. Doty and Bryce. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Post same sign. Motion carries.
Just turn it off.
Yep.
Let me Jan back.
Yeah, everybody, and then we can kick him out.
Says she's joining still. Let's go ahead and vote. As long as you're recording.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma. And the meeting will resume in the boardroom in 10 minutes. We would like the board, Mr. Doty and Bryce Johnson for these 2 minutes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. All right. And just, there'll be no action, so if nobody needs to hang out. Yeah.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma. And the meeting will resume in the boardroom in 10 minutes with the board, Mr. Doty and Bryce Johnson.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries.